Hi, I'm Gaby.
And I'm Becky.
And we're the Control Shift Z podcast.
Welcome to our third episode. How exciting.
I know.
This one is going to be about how growing up is really hard, dude.
It is really hard, dude.
I don't know why I said dude. I sound like a whole white boy.
Surfer, dude. And don't keep that in. Don't keep that in. But yeah, today we're talking about how hard growing up is. And our first topic is feeling like we have to have our whole life planned out at such a young age. And you can start.
Okay.
You can take the little lead on this one.
Oh my god, because how many times have I been asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? Throughout my childhood. At age 3, why are you already asking me that? I'm literally a toddler. What am I supposed to do? Oh my, sorry y'all. I'm getting a little heated over this, but how am I supposed to know?
You know, that kind of even reminds me, I'm not sure if this applies to many cultures, but when I see Korean little babies, when they turn 1 year old,
yes,
and they have to pick the things for their career path.
My other cousin, he did that when he was a baby. So we went over to his house, and then we celebrated his birthday, and then there were different toys with the different occupations.
They do that for culture too, or did they just do it?
I don't even know. I don't know. I don't know. But I saw it happening, and I was like, wow, this is so fun. This is so exciting. And low key, there was a food one, and I was like, I hope he picks that one because it looks really yummy. Foodie for life. But it was just so fun to watch and experience. But I don't think people should be taking it that seriously, because these are kids. They just pick whatever's most appealing, you know?
Or the parents that get upset when their children don't pick doctor or lawyer. They pick artist or chef or something. I don't know. Yeah,
dude, in first grade, my teacher okay, at 3, I had a little project, and one of the questions was, what do you want to be when you're older and whatever? And so I was working on the project with my mom, and I still have it on my door to this day.
Oh,
yes.
It's that one. Mm-hmm. I know what you're talking about. And it
says, when I'm older, I want to be a doctor and a teacher. First of all, sis, 2 occupations? Are you out of your mind?
No, she was a multitasker, she said.
First of all, I'm not trying to be in college for that long. 3-year-old me was trying to kill me. And then first grade came around, and the question was asked again, and I was like, I want to be a model. I'm a tiny person.
You had that confidence. That's what matters.
No, I was like, that looks really cool to do. And I went home and I told my mom, and she was like, are you trying to be a slut?
There's no way.
Okay, not those exact words, but she was like, she gave me a look and said something along the lines in Vietnamese, because she just bro, they show off too much skin, they're sexualized, I don't know, something along the lines of that.
Every model kind of is.
But it was just wow, that really crushed me. I was like, I'm never telling her anything I'm interested ever again, because wow, sis did me dirty.
I thought she was gonna be yeah, you're just not pretty enough, so don't even try.
But
there's some people or some parents that you tell them you want to be something, and they're just no, you're not fit enough for that job or that career. But yeah.
Why are people asking this question so often throughout our growing stage? I get here and there, it might be like for the funsies, just to see what your child might be interested in. But like, it gets to a point where I feel like there's just too much pressure around it, and like it makes you like kind of spiral out, because now you're thinking as you grow older, especially with me and Asian parents, of course, I'm just thinking like, damn, like these people want me to work in that medical field, like that must be it, that must be the career I'm going to do. But then as I grew up, I just realized I'm not that type of girl. Like,
Girl, me either.
to be honest, I'm kind of thinking about being a pediatric nurse or pediatric doctor if I do go into health, because number one, I love kids. Number two, I really like helping people and like taking care of people and doing like and playing that role. So I mean, if I do go into health, there's that.
I feel like realistically you wouldn't be able to handle like 8 to 12 years of like
9 to 5.
Yeah, but even before you like become an official doctor, like all the years of like med school and stuff, learning like biology, physiology, and
but the
whatnot.
thing is, like, we spend so much time in like school, like there's elementary, middle, high school, and then you go to college, and then for how many other long years of like, depending on like what degree you get, I just feel like you kind of like have been in like the school system for so long, it just feels comfortable, so you kind of get lost once you're out of that like cycle, and then you're like, damn, what do I do with my life now? Like, yeah, I have to apply for a job and all, but like, this is weird, like my school era and learning era is over, you know?
Yeah, I definitely feel that. Like, although like every teen is like, oh my gosh, I hate school, like I don't want to go to school, like fuck school. I feel like I definitely agree with that, because a lot of teens nowadays, and I feel like this has been a thing, like just growing up, like it's like, oh my gosh, I hate school, fuck school, like no, I don't like these teachers, school is not for me, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, I feel like school provides such like a place of comfort, although a lot of my anxiety comes from school, don't get me wrong, but it kind of gives you like this bubble that you can be in, and it gives you like a place to be able to socialize, whereas in like growing up, going to college, like the whole making friends and just having that work-life balance is going to be completely different than
I was having this discussion the other day with Izzy and Amanda, and we were talking during lunch about how in college, like, how are you supposed to make friends? Because everybody's new, and like, it's just, I feel like in college there's more like lectures, so you're more being spoken at, and so when do you have the time to like converse with other people and like break that awkward barrier enough to like hang out outside of like classes and whatnot? I feel like if you dorm, that's one way you can get close to people, or maybe like the extracurriculars and clubs and stuff, but like you really have to like push and make that effort to like socialize and make friends in college. And
yes, I agree.
On what you were saying about how school is like a place of comfort for a lot of people, like, yes, we get so stressed out because of school, but there's also that communal of like, we're all suffering together.
Yes,
and so
it's just the community like, that you have.
We like all support each other, we have each other's backs, and like a lot of people, like, they tend to not have the best family situation at home.
Hint, hint.
Yeah, but one of my best friends, she emphasizes a lot on how she rather be at school than at home, because she just feels like there's so much frustration. And so even though school does like give her a little stress, she feels like it's a place where she can socialize, make friends, talk with others, and also explore all these like extracurriculars and like all her interests. And so it gives her that space to kind of like be her own person and like grow.
Yeah, I feel that.
But anyways, we got a little bit sidetracked.
Yeah.
But I feel like that was still like pretty important to mention, and like I feel like a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, we'll go like a bit deeper into it like towards the end of this podcast.
Yeah, but going back to like feeling like you have to have everything planned out, I spent a lot of my summers because I didn't have anything to do besides work. And of course, like I could binge shows and whatnot, but a lot of the time I found myself like planning out what college major I was gonna do, what colleges I wanted to attend.
Yeah,
like both wants and like reasonable like, and also like safety. And I was I really dug myself into a hole, like especially during, it was like summer vacations when I didn't do anything, so like before freshman year, and the time COVID happened, where I had so much time to myself to spiral out. And that was my downfall, y'all. Like I stressed myself so much over something I had no control over, because life is still gonna happen. Like I can't plan every single little detail out, and it stresses me so much when I can't like have a set plan. But at the same time, I want to be able to go with the flow. But it's just when things take a turn, it's like you don't have
that sense of security anymore.
Yeah, and like it's hard to like deal and cope with that, and just like learn to like work your way around like the ups and the downs, because I feel like when I reach a down, I think like it's only gonna get worse from here. And rather than thinking like life has its ups and downs, and sometimes there are more downs than ups, but like still I appreciate like my family, like, and all the support I have and my friends. And just, I know a lot of people say this, but like really appreciating the little moments is like really what like gets you through. And also just things that you like for example, like passions. I feel like art is not necessary, but like it really keeps you going. Like it gives you something to live for, at least for us creatives out there.
At least for me, I feel like I always grew up like planning every single detail out to the T, like because I didn't grow up with like the best home life. I remember like making plans with my best friend, and we were like, oh my gosh, when we're 18, like we're moving out, we're gonna start working at 14, save up all this money so that at 18 we can move out and live in a condo and then go to college, and we'll live there, and boom bam, that's our life for the next few years after that.
No, same, because I was like, I'm gonna get a job as soon as possible, save up so I can like pay either for like a separate place to like stay in for college, or I can get ahead of my like college loans and whatnot and that student debt. But
that never happened.
A lot happened.
So we just didn't get there yet.
Yeah, but another thing is my mom is a big planner, and like my parents always love to get to places really early and have everything scheduled, organized, planned out, and get there like earlier rather than later. So I kind of grew up in the environment like you, where like I just like have to be planning everything out. But I found that over time, yes, there is nice to have some sort of structure so I'm not completely lost, but also giving myself that freedom to like kind of be spontaneous or like have options. That works way better, because like when I plan everything out to the little details, it just stresses me out so much. And it's not like everything is gonna go according to plan.
Yeah.
Because life ain't like that.
I know. And it's hard because, like, I feel like it's a bit easier when it comes to, like, maybe different goals that are not necessarily academic or career driven, like moving out at a certain age, for example. Like, it might be easier for things like that, or buying a car. But I feel like Gen Z specifically, like, I feel like this generation, there was so much pressure, there still is pressure on us to, like, do so good in high school and get into college. Like, that is the pathway. And, you know, a lot of people now, college is not the thing for them. It's just not. There's so many other opportunities that are better than going to college. But I feel like it's so pushed on, like, the narrative of going to college onto literally every student, that you feel like if you perhaps don't want to go that route, like, you're a failure in life. Like, you're not achieving or becoming the best version of yourself by not going to college.
Yeah, and growing up, every, like, thing seems like a big decision, and, like, it's gonna have a really big impact on your, like, life. Because if you're, like, an overthinker and also, like, a tryhard and, like, a bleep student, the school that we go to type student, then you're gonna be, like, so upset if you, like, because, like, especially if you're a top student and you experience failure for the first time, oh my god, it really impacts you. Like, just today, a friend of mine's failed her test. Like, she just blanked out, and she's so smart, so intelligent, so brilliant. She completely blanked out on a test, and like, she was sobbing for so long because, like, when you're that driven and, like, you want to give your 100% to everything, it's just failure. And, like, you usually do well. When you hit a failure or, like, a block that hard for the first time,
it really hits.
It really hurts. And, like, for us, since we've experienced failure so many times, we're just
every
like,
single day. Every single day there's something. I swear to God, we're never in peace. Never.
but we have the skill set to cope with it better because we've experienced failure so many times.
Exactly. Like, we've been through it so many times that now we have, like, the tools in our toolbox, I guess you can say, to, like, be able to handle those situations better and not let our emotions fully control us, unlike other people that have very few experiences with rejection and with failure, that, like, they just snap right there, right then. Villain era.
Some people don't recover like us, but now we're recovering, obviously.
I'm in my healing girl era, y'all. Come on.
Yeah, but I mean, it's great if you can, like, bounce back from that, and you're gonna study twice as hard the next time that, like, test comes around. But I just feel like, since everything feels like such a big deal, it hits, like, extra hard, and it adds that much more to the pain. And as, like, someone who's been through that, like, even, like, you guys know, like, elementary, and in elementary school, like, I'd make sure, like, I'd get A's and whatnot. And moving into middle school, same thing. I tried to do the best I could, and at some point I realized in middle school that, wow, this really is not clicking with me, this is not going along with me. And, like, I'm the type of person that if I don't feel passionate about something and I'm not interested in it, it makes it so much harder to learn. And
I agree.
especially with the teacher, like if the teacher sucks on top of that, or like the teacher doesn't contribute to a good experience, like being super nice or chill or funny, or like really open to helping you, then it just makes it that much worse. And so when I started experiencing failure for the first time, wow, it really hurt. Like it really hurt. And it felt like failing one test
was like the end all be all.
Yeah, was leading up to failing more tests, because I knew I was already weak at that subject. And that in return like lowers the term grade. And then how am I supposed to fix that with the next three? You think you have time with the next 3 terms coming up.
It's just overthinking. It's just this whole cycle.
But you end up like start like going into that pit. And then after you experience like that many downs, like eventually you find that recovery road. Of course, it already feels like the end of the world, but like when you go into that like cycle, because you're already weak at that subject, and it feels like if you do get extra help and you try, but you feel like the effort isn't contributing to like the results, it just hurts your
even more, because it's like you're trying, and even with your added effort, you can't see results.
Yeah.
And I feel like to add on to that too, like every year, you know how we have summer work at our school, and then like the first week we already have to take a test on it? Yeah. Every single year, I think I failed almost every like summer math packet thing. I never did that good.
This next Monday. Pray for me.
Yeah, I remember there were a few times, I don't know if it was every single year, but there were a few times where I did leave crying because I felt so disappointed and like so embarrassed and so much shame. And because it's like the first test too, it's also like, in a way, I perceive that as like the teacher's first impression of me, and it's like they already see me doing so bad now,
and
that
you
they kind of
feel like the next coming test you're gonna do like bad too. And they just like getting that first test, you think, oh, I'm bad at math, and I feel like because of that it transforms like your yourself mindset, because you think more.
That if you fail one test, oh, that means I'm not good at math. If I'm not good at math, then how am I going to do this other test? And then you just have that like mindset of like, I'm not good at this. I know I'm not good at this.
I literally learned about this in facing. Y'all, I love my facing history class.
I want to do it so badly next year.
But we were talking about, we were reading a book called The Social Animal. I forgot who it's by, but I'll leave the title up somewhere. We read an excerpt as a homework assignment, and it was talking about how like if you're told you're a bad person, you're start believing it, that you are, and then you slowly turn into that bad person. Exactly. And it gets worse and worse and worse.
That's so true. That's like, I noticed that pattern with myself each and every time. This year, like I literally today I had my math test for the summer math packet or whatever that we did over the summer. And last year I did really bad in math. Partly because of my own fault, but I feel like a really big chunk of it is also because I just did not have like a good teacher. I loved him. He was really nice and everything, but he cannot teach.
Yes, like
he can't.
When in the earlier years too, you're set up with a bad teacher, so your foundations are shaky.
Yeah.
Like, and then on top of that, if you are like having like issues like personally, mentally, along with that, it makes it that much harder. And when you kind of are already thinking like you're starting to go into the rabbit hole of, oh, I'm bad at math, like, wow, when your foundations are shaky, it really sets you up the next few years, and it's just a torturous cycle. And so this year, of course, I know I'm not the best at math, but I've already like emailed my teacher like a couple of days ago for some like extra like pages, math problems or whatever that I could just like cram through during the weekend so I get as much practice as possible. Because even if I'm like not great at it, I'm gonna do everything in my power to at least do sufficient in it. And then just by seeing that, I'll be like, my efforts finally paid off. Like, you know, I really want to get off with a good start. And my teacher is so supportive too. So I just feel like,
for me this year, and like, I knew that I did not have a good foundation in algebra 2. Like, it was just really bad, and I knew that. It's not that
everyone hated algebra 2. That was the worst year of math. Like,
everyone says that.
I don't know what it is. Like, did they like make all the teachers horrible, or was the like content like really difficult? Because like, even as you progress in math, like algebra 2 stays everybody's like traumatic experience. Yeah.
But I still felt like I didn't have that grasp on it. And for this test that I had, I tried studying whatever I could, but I gave myself grace, and I didn't try to like cram everything in one night. And I told myself that if I don't do good on this test, it's okay. I still have the rest of the entire year to make it up to him. Or to my teacher, right? And I was even thinking, like, after I took the test, I would, like, email him and explain, like, my situation and whatnot. I don't know if I'm actually going to do that. But basically, the point that I'm trying to make is that every year, I always go into, like, these tests, or I come out of these tests crying because I didn't do good, and I know I didn't do good. But this year, my mindset has changed so, like, drastically to the point where I went into this test and I knew that I wasn't going to do that good, but I was okay with it because I know that I'm able to make it up later instead of putting so much pressure on myself for this one thing, and then letting that feeling snowball into like the effect that you were saying, like if you think you're a bad person, you become a bad person, you know? So,
and yeah, adding on to that, that's why I'm going into this year, like, even if I don't do well on, like, a math test, per se, I'm gonna try my best and, like, keep myself from thinking, oh, I'm bad at math, I'm gonna fail the next one. Because I feel like that's what, like, will trip you up even more. And it's really a battle against yourself and your brain. Again, like we were saying in earlier episodes, all the episodes have like an interconnected like message and web, and one lesson leads to another. But really, like, I'm going into this year with just focusing on not controlling per se of my mind, but just keeping the negative out and keeping a positive mindset and like a learning mindset of, okay, even if I did not so great on this one, that doesn't mean I'm gonna fail the next one, and I'm gonna try my best to keep going. And that's just all you can do. Sometimes you just gotta give it your best, and it is what it is.
And I feel like a lot of people struggle with not feeling secure and not having that control with certain situations in life. And I feel like the one thing that we really do have control over is our own emotions. And it's a struggle to really be able to manage them. And I can't say that I'm really that good at it either, but I feel like being able to manage your emotions and not letting the negative ones like take over you and again have that negative mindset is something that really helps that process with growing up.
Yeah, I've heard from like a lot of people just on like focusing on what you can control. All these external things will always be happening to you, but the one person or thing you can control is yourself and your actions and what you choose to do moving forward, how you react to situations. So it's a learning process, and you kind of build up that skill set over time.
Yeah. And I also wanted to move on to another topic too that I feel like makes growing up very hard, is the fear of wasting time and wanting to be as productive as possible with the quote limited amount of time that you want. And again, it just goes into that fear of not having control over this time, right?
I feel like we see a lot of successful people these days that are
very
like at a young age, like they're in their 20s and they're already making like
a bajillion dollars.
And like even walking around on Newberry Street, I'm seeing so many of like these young people, and they're dressed in all these like fancy clothes. And obviously Newberry Street is like the rich people street, but like
it is
them rich foreign exchange students walking around there.
Don't even get me started.
Wow.
I think social media also plays a really big role into it because of how much it expanded to what it is today. Like now you can literally, oh my gosh, voice crack. Now you can literally make money off of content that you post on social media.
Since we grew up with like YouTube and like all these different social media aspects, like over time, some people do start out just being interested, and they just want to like create something and post something and share it. But over that time, when the forthcoming younger generations are growing up and watching them and seeing how they became successful off of it, some people do just solely want to create without any kind of like result, I guess, or like money, getting anything out of it. Yeah. But there are also people that are trying to become successful through social media, and because there's so many of us and the algorithm picks and chooses, it's not like any person can really make it. I think it is like partly luck.
Yeah, and also networking and connections too definitely play a role. Yeah. But I feel like because social media has become so prevalent nowadays, like it's just become so like oversaturated with so many different types of content, you know?
Yeah, and it's like when you're in that like competition, I guess, with so many different people trying to succeed in the same thing, it's like, what can I do to be different? What do I have to offer? And just seeing like young people being successful off of like social media and whatnot at a young age. Let's say they started out like making TikToks during COVID for fun, and then they ended up blowing up. You feel that pressure of having to succeed at a young age. And so you're on this like constant grind of like trying everything, like trying really hard at everything, because you feel like it will lead up to one another. And so that's why like I feel like you want to be as productive as possible with your time, even though, to be realistic, we're teenagers. We don't even have ourselves figured out. We don't know who we are, what we like yet. It's all still like a mess, and it's supposed to be a mess. But when you see people succeeding at such a young age, you feel like, oh, I need to know my thing right now and work towards that goal. So then I have this long span of time where I'm working towards that goal for so long that I will have to succeed by that early age. And it's becoming more often now for people to be like, yeah, you don't have to figure out in your teenage years or your 20s, in fact, because
I hear that a lot too.
They're a dumpster fire. But you just can't help it because of how you have seen things and because of social media.
Yeah, I feel like social media definitely plays a really big part in like the fear of wasting time. Our next topic that we have on here is finding purpose in life. And you can take it.
Yeah, so me and Gabby, of course, this can apply to a lot of like different situations and people, but from our personal experiences as creatives, the question we find ourselves facing a lot as we grow up is the question of, should I go with that thing that I'm passionate about, or should I go for the safe route and that stability? Because sure, you may be interested in that stable like pathway, but it just feels like a what if in the back of your brain, and always thinking about like the other thing you wanted to do, that passion. And a lot of the times people can like work their main and then do the passion on the side, but again, with the time management, like sometimes you're just so busy and occupied,
it's so hard to have really two kinds of careers. Like,
yeah, and just like, even if you like really hate your main job and it's like not for you, but you feel like you need to keep it for that financial stability, it really gets hard to like pull the motivation out to like wake up every day and like do like a 9 to 5 or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that really scares me about growing up, because it's a question that I always ask myself, because we're already getting to that time where we need to know what we're going to major in for college.
And yes, it feels like you can explore different majors. Like, you don't have to stick with the major like that you choose right off the bat. You can switch it up, or like go to community college, do like a year or two there, and then transfer your credits to college that you're actually passionate about going into. And it feels like you have that like opportunity, but like there's only so many like times you can switch it up before you feel like, I can't do that anymore, like I really need to decide or like find that passion.
Imagine how much like tuition money that is.
Yes. And yeah, imagine like how
time
much
and money that's being wasted there.
Exactly. And so I think that's what really gets to people, and I found that like really affecting me. And just, I wanted to also bring up in an interview I watched with Keshi.
Oh my gosh.
He was talking about how he was working in like, I think he was a nurse, or
really?
Yeah, he was something in the medical field.
I never knew that.
He did music on the side, but when he was doing that, he got like no sleep. He got like maybe like an hour sleep a day or something, and it was just like really bad for him and really exhaustive. But like, he was number one Asian, and so like when he's already down that path, of course he's gonna know that he's gonna experience backlash from his parents if he went into the creative path. But eventually when he like started like gathering a lot of like offers, he eventually signed to a label. He like had to fly out to like New York like immediately the next day after like working his shift or whatever. Of course, all of this I might get minor details wrong, but you get the general gist of it. I'll leave the interview linked in the description. But just, I found that like really refreshing to hear about. Number one, seeing an Asian artist become successful, starting off in what you would say is like typical,
the typical
and like what
stereotypical
our or my own Asian parents want me to like do. And so I just found that like, but again, what to take away from that was how like difficult it is managing doing a stable and then the creative passion on the side. Like, it's really tough.
That's something that I've been debating in my own life, because like I really want to, again, being so like goal oriented, I have so many things I want to do in life, so many ideas that I want to put out there, and it's like there's so many things I want to major in. My main one now is psychology, but I'm also like really interested in going to business management or marketing or fashion design, or even like going to a music college and doing like music theory and singing and songwriting. Because I'm pretty sure you can major in songwriting if you go to like Berkeley or like a conservatory. Anyways, besides the point. Like, I question myself all the time, and lately what I've been thinking of doing is going to psychology, because again, I'm extremely passionate about psychology. So it's not even like a bad
For me, it's
stability.
sociology. You see how we're like mentally like kind of
Linked
there?
I'm also debating sociology too. I also am, but currently more psychology than sociology. Anyways, point being, I wanted to do psychology as kind of my stability, and then do like creatives outside of that, cuz one, I'm still, again, I'm passionate about psychology, so it wouldn't even be like me going into like bioengineering. I don't even know if that's a thing. And
But it still provides that like stability.
And then doing maybe like starting my own business in like different areas, or continuing singing, songwriting, whatever.
I think that's another thing with like the younger generation. We have so many passions and things that we want to do,
Yes.
but it feels like there's not enough time to do it because we have to pick like that one thing
that
we're
we have
good
to
at.
stick to.
Yeah, and then succeed in that, so then you can like make a living off of that and whatever. But like Gabby, I have so many things on my bucket list that I want to get crossed off. And of course, like when you're talking to someone older to you and like more experienced in life, they're like, you have the time to do that. Like you have like 70 years to like do everything that you want to. And so you just have to like be patient with that, and you can go for it. But it feels like because you have to succeed at a young age, and like for example, if you want to move out early and like be financially stable, you have to be consistent with working towards that one goal, and then therefore you have to like kind of sacrifice your side things.
Yeah, because you have to maintain consistency, and it's realistically it's hard to maintain more than 2. Like, I don't see that being like a realistic thing.
And there's this stigma of like after your 20s, like when you're going into like your 30s and after, it feels like you can't like do anything anymore.
That's like it. That's
you
like
can't
your job.
explore new things. You can't like, you kind of have to be like settled down and figured out by then.
Having families, who even knows? Like,
it feels like some of the things that you wanted to do, you're like too old for them now too. And so that's kind of like just what sucks, and like what like stresses like the younger generation, trying to figure out everything out so quickly when we have all this time because of that stigma around aging, growing up, and all of that.
Yeah. So that's another thing that just scares the shit out of me too. And bringing it back to the first, like, one of the very first things that we were talking about, it's starting new chapters and beginnings. I feel like that's a very, very scary thing to do. So do you want to like bounce off of that?
Yeah, thinking about, I mean, when I was younger, like the idea of high school alone was like really scary to me, because like it's when, you know, colleges start looking and stuff. But then junior year was supposed to be like SATs, and
that's like the most important year.
The most important year where you have to really get your academics down, so that like, because like colleges will especially look at that year, and so you're gonna have to really do well. And that like stress and the idea of that like really got to me. Like it was this big scary thing. And then in senior year you had to apply to colleges and get your applications done while doing school, and then all of that just as a whole, balancing with again extracurriculars, volunteer hours, your like passions and hobbies, and just taking care of yourself. And it just, again, there's not enough time, and it just feels so daunting when you think about it, and like it just grows and grows and grows into this huge thing. And then but like as you approach it, it does get less scary when you're actually going through the process. But just, I guess the anticipation of things is always like what gets to you. And even now that I'm like in junior year, sure, I am still very scared, but
I'm sure
it's not as big as the fear that I made it out to be. And
just like a few weeks ago,
everybody goes through it, and everybody like survives through it. So it's just like, it's one of those things in life, and it's just
a natural process.
Yeah, it seems like a big deal, but once you actually like get into doing it, it becomes a lot less scary. But even with like college and thinking ahead of going into that, it's like, what college do I want to choose? Would it be financially okay for me if I wanted to go out of state? Like, do I have that? And am I good enough? Do I have good enough grades for financial aid? And just thinking about
or even
the steps ahead in the future. I feel like that, like, you just kind of keep going down that rabbit hole, so it gets bigger and bigger and scarier and scarier. The scarier and scarier it is to like grow up.
Yeah, and I feel like another big part of that too is something that a lot of people in their early 20s struggle with, and it's like making new friends and adjusting to that new environment. But even like bringing it back to like where we're at now, for me, because like I took that break my freshman year because I was doing really bad mentally. I took the break and I had to repeat the year again. And because of that, now I'm put in a class with people that are younger than me. And even though it's my sophomore year, it's my second year with this class, I feel like I'm still having to adjust to like a new environment with these people. And I feel like it's still a new chapter for me. And I've been really struggling with like making friends in this specific grade, because all of my friends now, like, they're all in junior year. Like, people that I would talk to after class or hang out with after class, they're all in like Becky's grade, for example. And it's scary thinking about the future and growing up, because once Becky leaves, like, bro, she got one more year. You got one more year till you're a senior, bruh. And then you're gonna go to college, and then my senior year, like, I can't rely on you or other people in your grade to like fulfill that like social aspect for me. I have to do that on my own. So it's something that I'm really struggling with right now, and it's been really scary because I can only imagine when my senior year comes, and it just feels like it's gonna be so lonely.
I'll come for your graduation.
Yeah, that's if you stay in state, bruh. Because
Even if I do go out of state, I think I would fly back so I could, see you graduate and be there. I'll be there with a bouquet.
I'm gonna cry so hard. But anyways.
It's okay. Just that idea of like people you know and love, we all live different lives, and we're all interested in different things, so we're all gonna be taking separate paths. And because you know and love these people so much, it's like scary to think of being away from them, because we're all gonna be in different colleges, and how do I keep that connection? Because like I value it so much, but like it's easier said than done to like maintain a relationship when forcibly you're living like two completely different lives and extremely busy schedules. It's like, how do you make that time? Or like, am I supposed to be like calling you every day, or like figuring out what works for the both of you that feels like, oh, I can always still come back and talk to you, and we'll always be close friends even if we, for example, like don't talk every day or whatnot.
Most
Just figuring out what works for you and all of that. But it's still so scary to think, because then you don't have the, I guess, cushion of school to be able to like see them every day, interact with them every day. Because even if you don't have classes with your friends, like I feel like people meet up at lockers and they kind of just like talk about their day and whatnot, or like even like through extracurriculars, if you're in the same club, that's like when the chance comes where you can like more be social with your friends and whatnot. And it's so scary to think, like, especially because with my group, we're all interested in different things. Like half of us want to stay in like Boston, half of us want to go out. I don't know if we're actually going to go out, but even with that, like we won't be. It's so silly if we're like, oh, let's all apply to the same colleges because I don't want to be separated from you. It's like you need to grow and have that experience. And obviously we know what's best for us as individuals and what we want to pursue. So we're obviously not gonna like change that in order to like match with someone else's, because at the end of the day, we're gonna have to live with the actions that we make and the lives that we make. And so everyone in my group is very like good with that, and like, you know, in their own identity and whatnot, and making the right moves for themselves, which I really love. But it's still really like scary to think that we're all gonna be like in different places. Like, will we still be as close? Like, how do I make sure I don't lose this connection?
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, it all boils down to just acceptance that each and every person is at a different place in their life, and we're all trying to run this one race. And it's just, I may be over here in the back, you may be a little bit forward, you know, but
we're all, it's each life is different, and so it's whatever works for you, and it's okay to be at different places in life than other people. But again, it's that aspect of comparing, and it's really hard.
Comparison is always the enemy here, isn't it? But just being able to manage that acceptance is something that I feel like will help us be able to grow up a lot more smoothly, you know.
And even for the people who do want to like go out of state, because like maybe they're just sick of their environment and they need a new place, or they want to get farther from their family, whatever it is, when you do like go out of state and go into this completely new environment, it gives you a blank space to
be whoever you decide to be.
Like get rid of like the ideas people had of you, like before and like during in high school and whatnot. And so you get to have that free reign to, you know, explore different things, create a new identity and all that. But it's also like really scary because you really feel that new beginning, that new chapter, and it's like you don't know anyone there. You're going into this completely new thing, like how
you don't even know the city.
Yeah, like you have to learn the new, like
how to get around.
Yeah, how to get around, how to like keep yourself fed, like how to deal with your roommate, how to deal with
so many things,
professors, and how to apply for classes so that you can graduate, because you have to manage that on your own now.
And that's such a good segue to another thing that we wanted to talk about, which is being adults and the independency that comes with that, and learning to be okay with being alone.
Yo, adulting seems really hard. Like
What
taxes, bro.
is that?
I'm not trying to evade taxes.
I don't know.
I just don't know how to do them. Like,
I honestly don't even know how they really work. Like, I know they take like money off of like your check and like things you buy, or like they add tax to things you buy.
And like every year you have to like file your paperwork. But like,
what exactly is that?
You are asking me as if I know. Like, I don't know.
Okay.
But it's just like doing all these adult things, and you don't really get to like learn them in school.
And it's even worse for us because we come from immigrant parents. So we're not like, we don't have parents that like are already taught that, like they know. Like my parents, they don't freaking know how to do taxes, bro. Like they don't understand like American like systems and how like these logical things work here, or not logical, these like legal things. They don't understand that, and I've never been taught that. So it's like being a child of an immigrant parent kind of just adds an added layer to that.
For me, it's like a different experience because my parents do have a background of English and being in America
That
for
is
so
true.
long. They, of course, they've learned to do things that won't get them like called up by the police and the government. Like, why are you not doing this? But there are still things that they like don't know. Like if a mail comes in and they don't get it, because like, you know, all these technical terms are really confusing, like all these big adult words, like, and then they come to me asking, I'm like, I'm reading it, like I know my English, but I'm just the concept, the idea, the message of whatever like letter this is trying to get to me, like I do not understand. So I'm like, yes, sis, I can't help you there. I don't know what this is, like, but like I still like feel very appreciative because I feel like when I do get to that adult stage, I feel like I can just call up my parents and be like, how do I do this? Because I'm not trying to get so caught up by the popo right now.
I feel like it's like a privilege to be able to have that, so be grateful, girl, because
No, because when I was a kid, my mom would be like doing the bills and I'd sit there and watch her, and I helped. Like she had this like glue from work specifically for mail. I would be gluing them up, and while I'm doing that, she's explaining to me like, this goes right here on the check, this goes obviously I've forgotten, but I think I have like a general idea. But again, there are so many other things to like learn about, which I mean, we still don't even know what we're going into and like what other things there are because we're not adults. We have not had the rough.
We still have a few more years of high school left.
Yeah, we haven't had that start of going into adulting and figuring everything out. And I'm sure there's more things to come up, but like just all of that is just like really wow. Okay,
it's a lot.
Adult things, woohoo. Making your own appointments too.
Oh my gosh, don't even get me started.
Okay, for people with social anxiety too, or like asking for help, like if you don't get something out in the public, like not even in school, but out in the public, if you don't get something and you need to ask for help or like talk to the cashier, like especially for people with anxiety. Wow, it's so hard. The other day, I went to drop off packages at my post office because I started selling on Depop.
Oh my gosh, your Depop. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
I'm trying to side hustle, yo. I'm trying to make at least some sort of
Well, whoever's watching this, go buy from Becky's Depop. She'll leave the link down below.
But like all of the people who are watching this so far are like our friends. So maybe don't explore that. Like please go away. Like I am suffering enough embarrassment from doing this podcast. Like I'm really stepping out of my comfort zone with this.
Listen,
I walk through the hallways.
But you need that money though.
I do need that money.
I feel like learning to be okay with being alone is something that we still need to work on ourselves. And we just don't have like enough experience to really speak on that. But I feel like it's something really important to be talked about. And that goes into some advice that we've heard. Mostly Becky. I don't even know this person. But Becky was telling me about her. And it's her friend, Soraya, who's like a bit older than us. I don't know by how much, but...
No, I think she's in her 20-somethings.
Yeah, well, you can go into like...
I thought it'd be really cool to share some advice I heard from a mentor figure, I suppose. During my summer work experience, I was exploring and going into film as potentially one of the things that I might do, or because like I am passionate about like film and whatnot. So I took a shot, and while I was working, I met this really awesome, cool person named Sarai, and she's so lovely. She's going into the film industry and directing movies, music videos, and figuring her way into that world and really getting a hold of her craft and what she's doing. But as I was talking to her, we ended up like having this really long conversation about like the future and like her own experiences, because she's a big sister of two, like she has two younger siblings, and so it's like natural for her to like bring out this big sister mode and like mom energy, and she just like has that want to like help younger kids like and teens going through like what she went through and giving as much advice as possible. And so she had told me in her own experience that she grew up being a very like study and academics, like because her mom was strict, and when she like got into college, it's just she found herself like being like she couldn't see herself doing something like your typical 9 to 5. Like she felt like she'd be really miserable, and after like experimenting here and there, she had decided on film, and she actually started off in community college for a year or two, and that's after that she switched to NYU to learn really film. But the tuition was just too much. She loved the experience, but the tuition was like really got to her, and it's like, what do I really want to get out of this? Like, why am I going to college? Can I get a better or a different experience outside of college, and what can I do with that? And so with that, she decided to take a gap year, and that's when she kind of did things on her own and figured everything out on her own. She reached out to a lot of people that she would find like little films or whatever, and she'd like, that'd be really cool for me to work on. So she messaged those people and like was always like giving herself an opportunity, giving herself the chance, because if you don't reach out to people, you aren't going to get those opportunities.
Like marketing herself to other people.
Yeah, and then she had told me like within that gap year and her time of just doing everything on her own, she found that she learned so much more, got like rose in the industry so much faster, learned so much more outside of college, and that was like what worked for her. So she ended up dropping out of college, and that's what like she's been doing, finding different like film groups and like making those connections. And she's always like, those connections really are important, and like being nice to people and respectful can get you like a really long way, because other people just always want to help you and find help find your way in the industry. And I was like, but how do you like know if like that's the one? And she's like, you
just have a gut feeling.
You have a gut feeling, and you just have to experiment and give yourself all these different chances. And of course it's gonna feel scary to do like all these unconventional things and whatnot, but even though she had such a hard time, and like she dealt with like her own depression during like that whole rocky period herself, she like the place she's at now, she was like, I'm really happy where I'm at now, and I feel like I've learned so much. And I also like told her like, but I feel like that creative path, it's like too free. There's like no structure, no path, and no like set guideline, and that's what I also find really daunting. But she was like,
too.
but that's the benefit of being a creative. Like, you figure everything out yourself. It's like a double-edged sword.
Yes.
But she was looking at it so positively, and since she had like a good experience with it herself, I just found like all her words really comforting and like very insightful into like my own situation. And she was telling me like everything feels like so big when you're growing up. Like, you just have so much going on, so many things to figure out, and it feels like one decision is going to be the end of the world. But in reality, it isn't. When you like zoom out and see the big picture, you have so much more.
In 80 years or whatever the average is, like, that one decision,
that one test does not affect your entire life. Like, try hard in school. I'm not saying go fail out there,
please,
but give yourself grace. And you are human and you are growing, and so it's okay to be trying all these different things even though they seem uncertain. And obviously don't be spontaneous and just like be like, I'm gonna quit my job and start this other thing. Like, have also, some sort of plan or something.
Yeah, exactly, because at the end of the day, life is still life.
But give yourself that chance to experiment.
Yes, I agree.
Figure things out. And it's okay if you're still in the figuring things out process, because that's what you're supposed to do. And maybe you won't have things figured out by the time you're 40 even. Like, everyone works at their own pace. I heard just from like others' experiences too, like being in their 20s, but like having people around them that they know already like settled down and whatnot. It's to each their own, really.
Yeah, the 20s can be like completely different for so many people. I know people that are already getting married at like 22, 23, and at that point some people are just graduating college, you know. So it's really different for everyone. And again, we're still in high school. We have no idea
what's to come.
Nothing. Although growing up is hard, it really is.
It really, really is.
I feel like the only thing that we can do is control our own emotions with it and be present in our experiences, our emotions, things that happen to our day-to-day life. Because once this is over, once today is done, that's it.
Yeah, and then you realize that you really took things for granted once you reach that like end of that chapter.
Agreed.
And again, when we tell you things, obviously it won't, like, you will know it and you will have the information there. But again, with the clicking thing, it doesn't click until you actually go through your own experiences in life and figuring everything out. Of course, we're here to like kind of give you that heads up as best as we can. But again, we're in our own like growing process. We have no idea what's out there.
We are up.
I am up right now.
And that's the attitude that we should be keeping up. And you should too, y'all. You should too. But yeah, that's basically a wrap for our third episode.
Yeah, that's crazy how we're on our third episode already. It's kind of surreal. We probably said that last episode too, but like it really is.
We're saying this every episode at this point.
By the time, like right now that we're filming this, we just finished our first week of school, so that's super exciting. Little life update for you. It's currently 11 on a Friday.
PM. Friday.
My mom is going to beat me when I go home because this is extremely late and I'm usually not out
until
this
you
late.
Get home, bruh. You'll be home by like
11:30. Yeah. So there's that. And also to my friends out there, they're clowning me for having such a deep voice on the podcast, and they're like, why do you sound like all, yeah, like whatever.
I'm so cool and knowledgeable.
It's not like that. It's because I'm in a calming environment, so my voice naturally drops deeper.
Like,
but
look at this vibe, y'all. Like, we did this on purpose.
Like, when I'm surrounded by people in school, like, my typical, like, you can hear me talking like this, like, it's much higher and, like, brighter, and I'm just like, hey, everyone, like, yeah, go us, go school, I hate this place. My voice usually sounds like that, so people, stop clowning me, leave me alone. Yeah, that's really all I wanted to say. Let me have that moment. But
yeah, she really felt the need to keep this in, even though it's completely unrelated. She's the one editing, so I have no say at this point.
I'm putting myself through suffering. Anyways, also, can we just take a moment to appreciate Gabby's hair right now? She dyed it recently. It's blue, which I think you guys saw in the earlier episodes too.
I don't even know. I don't think you can tell, but
you probably can't tell in this lighting because, you know,
yeah,
all this.
you can.
But it's slaying. I love her natural hair too, but she gets really exhausted too. Okay, anyways, as usual, you can catch us every other Tuesday, but for this month, it will be every Tuesday. So have fun with that.
Surprise.
Poor me.
Poor you indeed.
You can catch us every Tuesday for this month and every other Tuesday for the upcoming months. And of course, we're gonna adjust our schedule as life progresses. But for now, we're doing every other Tuesday the upcoming months just to get ourselves settled, started, everything going down. And you can find us at the Control Shift Z podcast on TikTok and Instagram.
And make sure to catch our other episodes that have been released or are coming up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube.
Yeah, apparently our video version is on Spotify too. Who knew?
I've been knowing that, but I guess
didn't
Becky was a
know.
little slow on that memo. But
Bye. Wow, leave me alone.
anyways, remember, random thoughts can be important thoughts.
So let's keep the conversation going.
Bye.
Bye.